funny is that I'm coming back in yeah, coming back.
Tomorrow, Saturday, where are we going to Europe?
Yeah. Next time I come back, I'm going to be super tired.
Egunon, sail ofizialeko Enemy filma ikusi berri dugu, eta orain hasiera emango diogu prentsaurrekoari.
Good morning. We've just seen the film in the official section, and the film is called Enemy, and we're going to hold the press conference, corresponding press conference for this film. For this press conference, we've got the director, Denis Villeneuve, we've got the actress, Sarah Gadon, and we have the scriptwriter, Javier Guillon, and the producer, Nif Fichman and Miguel Angel Fouda. And they're eagerly awaiting your first question, and that's the first question in the front row, so please go ahead. And I'll take turns for the questions. Who wants to ask questions? No.
Hola, buenos días.
Hi, good morning. I wanted to ask the director two questions, if you'll allow me. The first question has to, the second as well, has to deal with the double. That is to say, the exact lookalike. Why does it's so exciting for films as well as in literature. It's used quite a lot. And the quote that you say at the beginning, it says something like, chaos is order yet deciphered. So therefore, does that happen in the film? Do you think that what happens in the film can only bring about chaos at the end? Thank you very much. These are two questions. The issue with the double is a genre in itself. I can talk from the point of view of cinema, obviously, and I would say that the idea of an exact double is something quite present and is seen in cinema, even in the making of the film, in the actor and in the project. It's the actor who makes you believe that this character is quite true, and it's something that is quite present in the art of making films as regards to one's conscience, and, for example, to present a film before an audience in a cinema theater. There is something that I've seen, that there are several films that deal with this issue of an exact lookalike or a double. And there are several films that have been made this year. And that could be a coincidence. Who knows? The idea of a duality is something which is quite present in movies. And I believe that cinema allows us to, above all for me, it's a means by which it allows us to explore our fears, and and the audience also to explore that of something that may horrify us. The idea of an exact lookalike is the idea of the monster, which is always there present. It's a kind of a mirror. It's a notion which inspires a lot, and it allows us to do many things in films, and it's an ideal vehicle to develop different subject matter. I hope that what I've said makes sense. The rhythm of the film is quite slow. It's quite... echoes of David Lynch come into mind. Did you bear in mind, and the presence of Isabella Rossellini is a homage or a tribute to David Lynch? Sorry, yes, I'll repeat. It's, okay.
Sí, por favor.
Sí, la película.
Yes, the film has an atmosphere which is really slow. It wears you out, really. And there are echoes of David Lynch there. I don't know whether that's true, and whether the presence of Isabella Rossellini is a explicit tribute to David Lynch and to the way he makes his films. Okay. When you when the idea of making a film comes around and you think about, and especially the film in 2013, it's very difficult to make a film which is absolutely novel and almost a virgin film, shall we say. But there is an inspiration of Lynch. He's already explored this territory before, so the truth, there are genuine masters that have worked upon this. I did this film in a very humble manner, and I also have a lot of respect and an affection for these other directs. This is sort of like a tribute, so to speak, to these masters who have come before me in making films. I'm not too sure whether I'm in love with her or not. Who knows? Okay. The two films that you've made, how did you manage to simultaneously make two films like Enemy and Prisoners, which is a very long film and very demanding film? How was the work of... Why are they simultaneous? Why do these two films come out into the international market simultaneously? That must have been quite an arduous work. It's a fortunate accident, we could say. We developed both projects at the same time, and both projects were quite fortunately financed and accepted 1 week beforehand. So therefore, all of a sudden, I didn't have any projects, and all of a sudden I had two projects, two films at the same time. I managed to do both films. Ernest Fitchman, my friend, Niv Fitchman, my friend, the producer, has helped me to convince the North American studios, and it was essential for me to make Enemy before Prisoners. It's perhaps a bit more ambitious vis-à-vis how ample the project was. I had the need of making a film. I had to make a film between both of them, first in English and especially a film that I could explore this play with actors, something that I had not done beforehand, something completely different to what I'd done beforehand. So I was able to make Prisoners because Enemy was finished before. I made Enemy beforehand, so it was finished. And as I said, it's almost a prepared accident. I just got lucky, I suppose. The idea was to make a film which was more personal, in which and I was quite afraid of the American system itself. I wanted to make a film in Hollywood, but I was quite afraid to do so. Because it takes away a lot of control from you. It's very difficult to make a very close-up film just with your friends, but in Hollywood, logically, they got much more control upon the product itself. Hi, Dennis. I wanted to ask you, first of all, congratulations for the film, because I was a bit disconcerted at the beginning, but then I thought about it subsequently. I liked it much more. But it's a film which is quite complex, and it deals with, I believe, if I've understood it correctly, it refers to psychoanalysis, like regarding the work by José Saramago, the author of the novel. Another question is, what motivation did you have in order to make this type of film, which at the end of the day is aimed at a very reduced audience, not as commercial, for example, as Prisoners may be, and has very complex ideas that we talked about before, the I, the other person, the big spider, the mother, and so on, so all of those different concepts at the same time? Yes, it's a film where it says therapeutic, but yes, the book is by José Saramago, and with that spirit in mind is how I made the film, based upon the book. I've got a bit of jet lag this morning, and and perhaps my answers are not too clear, and I beg forgiveness for this, by the way. There was a second part of your question, isn't that right?
Oh. À propos, j'ai fait un court-métrage il y a quelques années. J'ai arrêté de faire du cinéma pendant un temps.
A few years back, I did a short film, and I stopped making movies for quite some time, but I did make a short which was called The Next Floor, and I did it with total freedom, without any pressure at all. Without pressure at all vis-a-vis the audience. Cinema is always an act of communication and expression. And my idea is to make cinema which is completely free, apart from the financial needs, and obviously it would be fantastic to have a big hit on the box office. But then after this short, I wanted to follow this spirit. Prisoners, I did it with a completely different spirit. That's quite clear. But I had the need, almost a visceral need, of making a film that perhaps nobody would have made it before. Enemy is a film that I made with great delight and a great joy and great pleasure and great love for cinema. It is a film which is a secret film. It forms part of a dream process, almost, as if I were dreaming awake. And the film, me as a director, that's how I felt it. I wanted to make the film with that freedom in mind. And for me, that was the most important thing, to make in making this film, and not only to show it. I know that my distributors are going to hate me for what I've just said, but it's a film which is quite a personal film. It's almost a secret film. It's a film, and I experience a great love for it, and I feel a great pleasure in sharing it with the audience, of course. But I'm aware of the fact that there are some people who are going to like this film, and I know that my father is going to hate the film, I'm pretty sure. And so therefore, I know it's a film that it's aimed at a very restricted audience. I agree with you, and I'm aware of the fact. But I, as a director, I thought of fundamental importance to make a film such as this film. And I believe that in the future, in a perfect world, I would like to be between both systems, to make more intimate type films such as this film, and other films like Prisoners, which is aimed at a much more extensive, shall we say, or larger audience. But from the point of view of creation, I believe it's fantastic to have the freedom to do this, because cinema is an act of poetry, and it's also artistic. Poetry is important. And quite often, I'm very sick and tired of thinking about the box office. So we've got to jump out, leave the box office to one side. Congratulations to Dennis and the whole team. What drew my attention was how the dialogue of the film with other different arts was, I imagine, Louis Bourgeois is perhaps a reference for you, or has it been? Louis Bourgeois. Louis Bourgeois.
Oui, oui. L'idée de l'araignée est...
Yes, the idea of the spider. But obviously, let's not keep talking about the spider, obviously.
I won't answer any question about spiders.
I won't answer any more questions regarding spiders, okay? But I did, or what I was seeking and what I was investigating, obviously the most important thing for me is that there had to be an intelligence within that monstrosity, a strong intelligence, and I saw the perfect incarnation through Louis Bourgeois in the shape of a spider. And yes, I did inspire myself upon Louis Bourgeois' work. Yes, front row. Hi, my question is for Sarah. Sarah, she's seeing you speaking English.
Script when you read it, because I'm so confused right now. So I imagine for an actor it must be really, really weird to read something that is not perfectly clear. What do you think about it?
Well, when I read the script, it was actually pretty clear. We kind of strayed from the script at times while we were shooting the film. But what I was most responsive to was, along with the script, when it was sent to me, Denis had written a letter about the film and about his reason for wanting to make the film. And it was essentially, I guess, an explanation. It was him saying how he wanted to explore this script and explore this idea of identity, explore the idea of the other. And it was so honest. And even in the letter, he said that he didn't have all the answers at that present moment, but he just wanted to invite artists to come and collaborate with him and to be willing to go on a journey and see, I guess, what we could learn about ourselves and about each other. And I think that was really special, and I really responded to that. And I said, "Oh my God, I got to do this." So yeah, that was really what drew me to the project. And then, of course, the script is always the script, but generally I tend to seek out directors who want to lift characters off of the page and who want to give an actor room to create a whole person. And it's so rare to read a script and find a person in the words on the page. And often, even if it is on the page, when you get in front of other actors and you start working with other people, everything changes. So so for me it wasn't a question of what's happening. It was more of an opportunity to collaborate.
Je dois ajouter que c'est le film.
I must add, or I would like to add, better said, that there are films that I've liked very much in my life, and they've always been films that asked more questions than providing answers. And they're the films that have always accompanied me throughout my life. For example, 2001: A Space Odyssey is a film which continues to be one of my favorite films. And it's a film which, it's quite clear it's very difficult to understand, but I like that feeling. I like that feeling, how doors are opened all of a sudden, and they bring about a certain mystery, and you have to decipher that mystery when you open that door. And that, for me, is something which is very interesting. That's a type of cinema that I like very much. And that is why, quite humbly, by the way, I've tried to quite precisely do that. I've tried to make a film that had those qualities in it. That is to say, I think that Enemy, unfortunately, is a film that we have to see several times in order to understand its essence. But I like that type of movie or films. Thank you. Congratulations for the film. My question is for the producers, as regards to how long did you take to develop the film, and where did you get in touch with José Saramago beforehand or Pilar del Rio, and what was the answer what was their response after having seen the film?
I produced another film based on Saramago book called Blindness, which was released 5 years ago, I guess. And at that time that we were making Blindness, on Blindness, it took quite a long time to get the script going, and Saramago was very upset because he wanted to see a film, and he wouldn't give the rights to any of his other books to any other filmmakers until he saw Blindness. And finally, when we premiered Blindness in Cannes in 2008, it was the opening night film in Cannes, and unfortunately the maestro was a little bit too ill to come to the screening, so Fernando Moraes and the screenwriter and I went to Lisbon the next day to show him the film, and we had a private screening in a huge cinema in Lisbon, and it was fantastic, and he cried at the end, and he really, really loved it. And so the next morning I said to him, well, now, maestro, since you said you're never going to give the rights to anyone else until you saw the film, and you really liked the film, didn't you? And he said, yes. And I said, so shouldn't I be the first one to get the rights to whatever I want? And he smiled and he said, yes, absolutely, you can. Which one do you want? And I said, I want the double. And so that was the beginning. So you can date it. It's whatever the date is. That's 2 days after opening night in Cannes 2008 is when we started. And I think shortly after that, at the same Cannes festival, Denis Villeneuve also premiered his film Next Floor that he referred to, that won a prize for top short of that year in Cannes. And we'd been friends for many years, and we'd always wanted to work together, so we started discussing the idea of working on this film. And Javier came on because he wrote the screenplay for another film that I recently produced called The Boy Who Smells Like Fish, and I thought that Denis and Javier would work well together, and that's how it started. So it's taken about 5 years, and unfortunately it's really interesting because I always told the guys they're exploring, and I always told them, we can ask the maestro all the questions, like all the answers, lie with him. He knows everything, and they're too shy to ask until they wrote a draft, and then they prepared a whole list of questions for the maestro, and literally, I swear, the day that they sent me the list to send to him, the next morning he passed away. And so he never saw the list, and he never saw the screenplay, but I know he felt good about giving us the rights, and unfortunately now there's a reflection with Pilar del Rio. It's the same as what happened in Cannes. She's not well, and she couldn't make it up. Literally as late as yesterday we were speaking to her, and she really regrets not being here, but she'll see the film very soon.
Thank you so much.
Sí, hay dos preguntas justo detrás de la cámara.
Two questions just behind the camera there, I think.
Detrás de la cámara hay dos preguntas.
Yes.
Eso es.
Hi, good morning. Sergio is my name. I would like to ask the director, how was it to work with the actor in this double interpretation, obviously? And can you talk about the hidden metaphor behind the figure of the spider? Could you talk about that? Thank you very much.
En fait, les films, comme réalisateur, quand je fais un film, ça répond toujours au film précédent.
As a director, the film always responds to the previous film. The last film I made, which was a film that had a lot of characters, and there was a lot of work vis-a-vis logistics. And the truth is that my impression was quite one of sadness, because I couldn't establish a clear idea of why. Well, because we didn't have much time, the truth be said, so there wasn't enough time to develop. We didn't have an ideal situation to develop a sufficient, close enough relationship with the actors. The actors, the truth is, they had a very strong need to develop my relationship with them. The idea was to reflect upon, exchange ideas upon art and life and cinema, and placing this character on the screen and in the scene. Enemy, for me, is a kind of film, it's like a laboratory situation. Jake Gyllenhaal, I got together with him. He liked the idea very much. The concept, the laboratory sort of concept, attracted him very much. So therefore we had the opportunity of exploring different improvisation techniques and open up a lot of possibilities. The truth is, it's a tribute to my producer, by the way, who has given me a lot of freedom in the making of this film. During the shooting of the film, there was no pressure at all. The atmosphere was quite relaxed, laid back. And as regards to duality, the issue of duality in Jake, and the idea of creating a character, a human being character, but all of this mixed into one person, so therefore working with him consisted mainly in making the characters come close to each other. He's a great actor,
diamétralement opposés. J'avais envie de qu'il y ait quand même.
It was very easy with his talent for him to create these two identical but different characters at the same time. You've got the impression that he could perfectly be two different people, but at the same time, he's one person, or one single character. So therefore, this making both characters come together, we worked very hard upon this issue, and continuously reflecting upon the character I had in front of me in the camera, how to elaborate and go further in depth into that play or that sort of game of the two characters I enjoyed the experience very much. I think that the key lies, the keys of and the answers lie in the film itself, and there's joy, and the joy and the emotion and the excitement of working with those images has been a great pleasure. The entire experience was a great pleasure for me. The basic idea behind the images was the question or the issue of opening doors and opening up different options. I don't really know how to answer you. I want to congratulate the director for making a story which is very difficult to conquer the audience from the minute go as soon as you see the film. And the truth is, the people, and he himself has said, is a film that can not only be seen, it's not only seen, but it leaves a lot of questions in the air, but it deserves it being seen several times, because some of the answers that the viewer or the audience sees in the first thing in the film or the second could be different. Changing the film, The Double, to calling it Enemy, does this mean that your worst enemy of oneself is oneself? Is that the idea behind the change in the title? Is that what it's due to? And as you're not going to talk about a spider, I'm going to make the following observation. I'm interested in the spider at the beginning, not the spider at the end. And as you've talked about 2001, is that spider at the beginning, is that like the equivalent of the monolith in 2001, Space Odyssey?
God, you should read our press notes. Please.
Oui, oui, oui. J'aimais pas le titre.
I didn't like the title. Well, for me, it was important, shall we say, that there should be a distance between the book written by Saramago, because the work is a book, a novel that I adored, I loved, but at the same time, and as I couldn't be in touch, I couldn't keep in touch with Mr. Saramago, and as Javier and myself were on our own to develop the script without Mr. Saramago, for me it was very important that everybody should understand that this is an adaptation which is extremely free. We took a lot of freedom, and that's the only way to be able to make this adaptation. First of all, you've got to take on the work with all of the mistakes that you can make, and to give your own interpretation of the book. So therefore, it's a free interpretation. It's not an adaptation of the book. And that was very important for there to be a difference in the title as well. Javier and myself, we did a lot of brainstorming, and we talked a lot about many different titles for the film, and I fell in love with the title Enemy. And why? Well, perhaps it may be a very personal title, but the idea is it talks about the power of the subconscious and the impact of the past upon the present. And the film also talks about how it's not everything is free. It's not our decisions aren't always free. Who makes our decisions within oneself? And for me, in my life at the present moment, maybe it's an enemy that makes those decisions for oneself, and that's the reason, perhaps. Well, that's the reason why I changed the title, and I love the title, by the way. And as regards to the spider and the monolith, no, I don't know what to answer. I'll take it as a compliment. But one has to be humble at the same time. Hi, good morning. I wanted to ask, Alfred Hitchcock, when he made a film similar to this, There was the case of Mr. Pelham was a 55-minute shoot. He said, but these types of films are not too long. And then Basil Durden, he said, with the man that looked like himself, or I don't remember the name of the film, but it was successful with Roger Moore, and the ending was quite surprising. I wanted to ask you whether you've inspired, or have you seen any films, or do you see any difference with these two classic films, especially the one made by Mr. Alfred Hitchcock? Thank you very much, by the way. It's true that it is a film in which sometimes I like to say that to the DOP, the director of photography, I say, for example, we're making a very, very, very long short, and I like the idea of that complete and utter complete freedom, a story which is relatively simple, but which in turn is very complex. And for me, it's normal that the film should last this long. And for me, it's not a film which is too long. No, I don't believe so. I insist I had a lot of freedom to make it this long. Inspiration, obviously, there are many inspirations, but undoubtedly the truth is I love that you mentioned Alfred Hitchcock, because for me there was a bit in the tension in the film and how we prepared the structure of the film and how we chose the blondes. The blondes aren't there just because it's a coincidence.
I would come to set and you would say, your hair.
Denis decía, tu pelo tiene que ser más rubio, me decía, tiene que ser más blanco, casi blanco, más blanco, más rubio, mucho más. Y no sé si os dais cuenta, pero tengo el pelo muy corto ahora porque tuvimos que, mucho tinte se tuvo que utilizar en la película Enemigo y, me destrozó el pelo. Espero que haya merecido la pena.
Il y avait des moments où... non, mais c'est vrai, il y a des moments où, spécifiques dans le film où de la
There were moments in the film in which Sarah, for example, and how she was dressed and how she was combed, there were moments in which it was a dissimulated tribute to a film very much. Some of those films that you've referred to, it's so pleasant to be able to enjoy oneself with all of those different codes when making a film. It's a film which is almost a game for me, as I've said this before. I think it's an act of leisure, almost. The most important film to describe this was playful. It's almost a film in which we can enjoy, where I can use the codes of cinema making, a film made with friends, by a group of friends. And all of this stemmed from my friendship with him and with all of these new friends. It's a film that we've made all together and collaborating. And in collaboration, this was very important, the idea of friendship and the will of creating something as a collective, a film that we all made together as a collective. So therefore, that's the way I wanted to do. That's the way I wanted to work in this film. Hi, good morning. A question for everyone in general. I would like to know what kind of current cinema do you think is more interesting, more specifically to the director, and then whether you share this following statement, that is to say that perhaps the audiovisual products, the most original and riskier audiovisual products, seen more in cinema, are seen in serials or TV series, for example, in movies made for TVs. I like all types of cinema. I'm a person who loves to see movies and films. I like more than seeing. I enjoy all types of genre. There's no specific hierarchy here, the truth be said. Sometimes I sit down to watch a box office hit film or another more experimental type of film. It's all the same to me. For me, TV is a different sort of setup. I don't have a snob sort of attitude towards TV, but it's another way, another format in telling stories. But it doesn't make it for me.
Je comprends que c'est un métier.
I understand, however, that it's a good way for script writers to watch and to make. There are very well-made TV series, very good quality TV series, but as I say, they don't really make it for me. For me, a feature film is the maximum expression. I can't fall in love. You can't be in love with two women at the same time. In my case, I don't have a TV at home, for example.
Bien, ¿alguna pregunta más, por favor?
Question?
Further questions, please?
Further questions, please?
Aldena Riquez. Okay, merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
Merci.